Hey everybody, Wave 3 News meteorologist Brian Good here. Latest edition of Snow Talk on this Monday. Final week here of February, and we've still got more winter weather to talk about. But I will get into a brief look at the long term in a second. I do want to mention what took place over the weekend. You know, everybody hopefully was aware this was a challenging forecast. We did not get it exactly right, but our confidence that we would get it right was extremely low. That's one thing about forecasts, by the way. When we issue them, we usually try to tell you our confidence level, low confidence or high confidence. We have high confidence, and it doesn't happen. And to me, that's just a huge bust. If we have very low confidence, then anything can really happen, and it makes us a nervous wreck. But anyway, this was the map I posted on the video blog on Friday, talking about the risk zones area, mainly snow north, mix here, rain south. Overall, these zones played out right on track. The issue was amounts, and we were off on amounts because we didn't know how long the duration would be. That was the biggest, question with this. What would the duration be of each one of those? But one thing, Kevin and I were sitting here all night, and a real critical tool is actually plane data. Airplanes that land at Louisville International, we were really trying to get that data, and being a Friday night, there wasn't a whole lot of plane traffic. So a lot of you are wondering why we didn't post a lot during the overnights, because we're waiting for planes to tell us how the atmosphere was truly behaving compared to the models. A lot of the planes are coming in from the north because they fly into the wind. The wind was out of the south. Planes like to fly into that when they land. So we really needed a plane to come in from this direction. And it was about, I would say, 2 o'clock in the morning. We had a plane that came into Louisville from the south. And when it did, it registered a temperature that was about 3 degrees warmer than what the models had indicated above our heads. That was our first signal that the warmer air was going to begin to win out. Then we started going through the adjustments and fine-tuning things. But I know it's crazy that you got to go for data like that to really nail down these kind of forecasts, but just 3 degrees off above our heads made a big difference on freezing rain, snow, sleet, and just plain rain. It was a messy forecast. Glad that one is done, so I'm going to throw that one away. That was not a fun one, but it did increase our snow total to 15.7, by the way, which is well above normal. All right, so now let's talk about the future. This afternoon, it's a cold wind outside, but the sun is counteracting that cold wind enough to get us into the lower 20s. A lot of us stuck into the teens, but that wind still has a bite to it, so it feels like single digits. Right now it feels like 8 here into Louisville. The clearing sky, though, has allowed us to see, if you look carefully, you can see that snowpack right across Kentucky and Indiana. It's still on the ground. We've been reduced officially to 3 inches at the airport. Some of us still have a good 5 to 6 or so inches on the ground. In Indiana, a little higher because you picked up some snow over the weekend. This system's getting all the headlines now. It's a southern tracker, not going to bother us. It's going to head toward the deep south in the next 24 hours. There is another one, though, that is behind it that'll form and work its way in a very similar path. But there is still some debate on this one. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is the NAM model. This was last night's run. It had the low pressure offshore of the Carolinas, fairly weak overall, nothing affecting Kentucky. The newest run, slightly deeper low, closer to the coastline, and therefore it created a deformation band of snow on the northwest side closer to Kentucky. What this is likely going to do, or how this is going to play out for us, we have energy that's diving in from the north as we head into Thursday. At the same time, this low pressure is going up the coast. Now, if this energy digs more to the south, it may very well force this low pressure to try to trend a little more through the southeast corner of the states itself. It will likely hug the coast, but it could trend a little further north and west to impact maybe our southern counties in southeast Kentucky, something we'll watch. If the energy, though, that digs more in a spread out direction, east and south, it will likely suppress the track and keep it more offshore, and then we could get some snow potentially from the little piece of energy here that branches off to the south and east, although that piece of energy will likely fade, but either way, there's a snow chance we're going to be tracking on Thursday. Either we're going to get it for part of the area from the southeast system, or we're going to get it from a piece of energy diving in with that Arctic air on Thursday. Not everybody is going to get snow out of it, but that is our only midweek snow chance. I see how it's playing out. Either way, doesn't look to be a big deal. Just letting you know that we are watching it. The Schreff model ensembles have also trended a little further north, given at least our southern part of the state here, in the southeast corner here, the chance for some snow. There's that little system here that could either go this way or this way. Even if it fades or heads to the southeast, will likely fade. It could still give us a dusting of snow. But this is interesting here. We'll have to watch this in the southeast corner to see how this works out in the next couple of days. Here's the Canadian model. It is betting on the idea of this system here digging more to the south and to the east, which would suppress the system more offshore. So then if that's the case, then this is our chance for snow. So it's fairly potent here as we head into Wednesday in Illinois, but by the time it gets to us, yeah, it fizzles out. Again, just a dusting of snow with that system now way offshore, not bothering us, and then it just gets cold for the end of the week. Here's the Navy GEM model. This is not a model we use a lot. It's not exactly the best working model, but I did find it interesting when I checked it. It usually isn't that far off from the other models when I look at it, but it's further to the north and west on the southeast coast in southern Georgia, which would give a good chunk of our area at least a chance for some accumulating snow for Thursday. So I thought that was interesting that model had that painted there. So again, we'll watch it. We'll leave it at that. After that, behind that is the cold drop. Now the models don't seem as abrupt about this as they did before. I don't really know if we're going to set records or not. It's kind of iffy on how this is going to play out for the end of the week. I mean, it looks cold. Looks like single digits, and it looks like highs barely hitting 20 on Friday. But is it going to go below zero? Maybe. I think that really would just depend if we get any snow at all from either one of those systems, and if we have any snow on the ground still at that point. So there's still a lot of debate how cold we're going to get at the end of the week. I mean, it's going to be way below normal. We should be 50 degrees this time of the year on Friday, and we may only hit 20. So yeah, it's significant. Don't get me wrong. But it is interesting to see that I don't think we're going to be as extreme as it looked the past couple of days. Then we get into the weekend. This is where I'm going to throw some high caution to you guys on the models, because it is clear we're going to see the cold air try to recenter itself in the center part of the country. We're getting strong data to support that. It's also clear we get the southeast ridge coming back. What is not clear is how quickly either one of these are going to develop and what is going to happen in between, which is where we are. So you're seeing a lot of talk about a big warm-up, maybe 50s and 60s coming our way for this weekend. I wouldn't go that far just yet. All right, I do think the way it's looking that we're going to warm up enough to see mainly rain out of this. But let me show you what I'm talking about, because even after it goes by, there's an Arctic surge behind this that does move in for the first week of March. Here's the Canadian. I'm going to stop it here to Saturday night. You see the problem here Saturday night and Sunday. The ridge hasn't formed yet, but it's already got the cold air moving in across the plains. So we get, freezing rain concerns or sleet issues here for Saturday night and Sunday. What a headache that would be again. But it does warm us up enough to give us rain. In fact, it tries to hold on to the ridge here, and the cold air kind of hugs right across this area. And the transition zone would be right across Indiana into Paducah and Ohio. That is the zone of very much uncertainty when it's the battle between the warm air push and the cold air on the other side of this. So I don't know how we're going to handle this forecast yet. We'll look at more data here for this afternoon. But for the weekend, I do think there's a good chance to see some rain out of this. But the more north you go in our viewing area, the more iffy you are. And something we're going to have to watch, because I'm not completely sold yet. This is going to be a full-on warm-up, and it's all rain ending as flurries. I'm not sold on that yet. I just am not seeing everything lining up exactly the way that would make sense for that to happen right now. The southeast ridge does make sense. I do see that. I do see the Arctic drop. But how it's going to evolve around us is going to be tough, because it's going to create what we call a baroclinic zone, a very tight zone between warm and cold air right across our region. And anytime you get in that scenario, you get a lot of mistakes in the models. So urge some caution on the extended forecast, all right? Go slow with it. Don't get too crazy on either end here. But let's hope, at least I think we have a chance at warmer air, at least above freezing for a couple days, and that we'll take that. Speaking of warmer air, here's the latest long term for March. If you were watching the past week or so, we were talking about how it was trying to center the cold air more back into our area. Excuse me. And it is trying to go back to the west, which would push that ridge into our area. So the chance for warmer air does show up more and more into March. The problem is, with this placement of the cold air where it is, it's going to allow us to have a few attacks of cold air, even into March and maybe even April. So it's not full-on spring yet, but it does show signs of warmer air. There is also another side of that, and that would be thunderstorms. When you get this kind of a setup, it screams thunderstorms. So overall, March looks just as busy as the end of February has been. But at least it can't stay cold forever, guys. It's got to warm up at some point, and hopefully we'll get more and more of those warm shots so that it'll help thaw us out. Because I personally am ready for spring, so let's bring it on. All right, so lots of track, nothing big coming our way. So let me be clear, I'm not forecasting a snowstorm or anything like that. I just think we have a few items of interest here on Thursday and one for the weekend that we do have to keep an eye on. And just stay tuned. We'll keep an eye on it. Between now and then, fairly quiet, just some chilly air to contend with. All right, guys, that's it for now. We'll see you today beginning at 5.